Yeah.
Magic made this one.
And I'm like, yeah. This shit hard. This shit hard. Oh my God. Yeah. I made it back with my soul and a vision. Switching up.
What's up, everyone? It's Yanni Blue and Mike Brown here, and this is season 2 of the Creators Toolkit podcast. I almost said the art of letting go by mistake. It's not my podcast. Hello, Mike Brown.
How's it going?
Going really well. We are kicking off we're kicking off season 2 of the Creators Toolkit, but season 3 of Merch Madness, and this is something we started on a whim 3 years ago now, as a way to increase our merch sales and increase visibility around ourselves as artists. And every year it gets more dynamic and crazy. And this year I had a million ideas for it, and probably I'm going to execute 3 of them. But I'm excited to go into another March and just be crazy and create. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. This was the first time. Like, I will say, I feel like I've been successful in releasing merch and like merch that I like. I think last year was kind of like rushed, just because I wasn't in the headspace of doing it. But this time around, I feel good, and I think like elevating what I'm doing, like I could come up with ideas for myself all day, but to be able to design merch for someone else, that feels dope. Like, it feels like a challenge, but also like me building up my my experience of creating for other people. I feel like this year is probably going to be my year of like just creating for other people a lot in general. So to take it to merch and like be able to go into somebody else's world and insert myself in it, I'm excited to see what comes out of that.
That's awesome. So you jump right in, which I love. So explain what you mean by designing for other people, because in the past, so Merch Madness up until now has been, I've been working on Yanni Blue merch, and you were doing Art of Letting Go year 1 and year 2. I think the biggest difference year 2 was the introduction of the pod, and we had moved to Etsy. So going into this year, you are going to be making merch for somebody else.
Yes, I am going to be doing feel free merch for that Yoga Dude's company. And we have a shirt, we have a sweatshirt, and those are the 2 items that I'm focusing on. And I may just stick with a t-shirt because I do like model of selling everything at one price. So I want to explore that and just see what that's like.
Took me a second.
Yeah, to be able to sell a shirt for like, I want to really explore like getting quality for low cost and producing what I feel is quality, because I do like my designs. I wasn't really 100% on the quality of the drop shipping, and shout out to the drop shipping companies, because that when you ain't got no money, that's the best way to do it. But I want to explore maybe taking March just to do pre-sales and then getting the money and then printing the items, so I can have the money to go print the quality of what I want to do. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, like really taking a different approach and just seeing what I can do with this. Haven't really decided where I want to post this, how I'm going to do it, which I do have a website, but also, I don't know. But I know I do want to sell these shirts, so I got time to figure it out. And I probably will, like I'm doing everything right now, create a video series around it, because that feels like the best way for me to work right now is using my content as my accountability. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that right now. But yeah, essentially designing for somebody else, because I do want to eventually design for other brands. Before was designing for Gap. I wanted to design for Gap just because I love wearing their clothes, and I don't feel like a lot of these brands make clothes that fit tall, slim people well. So I wanted to find clothes because I feel like I'm in between like a large and extra large, like extra medium. Um, so I would love to like really design clothes that fit as well because I remember being young and feeling like I couldn't find mhm. Yeah.
Oh man, shout out to that guy. We love him. Oh, he's going again? No. I'm keeping all of that in. Um I like what you're describing because I know we've been kind of mad dashing, doing different things. And one thing you had asked me to do coming into this season was like to be very intentional about what we wanted to talk about. And what you just described feels like the I think the reasoning why I wanted to interview the people I wanted to interview this season, which was that allowing yourself to play and discover and falling into different things. And I think that's been the constant theme with everybody that I wanted to talk to, and even with our lives in the last year has been we've been letting ourselves sort of figure things out and falling into really cool opportunities, really cool jobs, really cool projects. So I love that it seems like your Merch Madness theme is essentially like discoverability and experimentation, and what does that look like for you and where can that lead you, I think is super important because that's literally, like I said, at the core of like the people that I wanted to talk to. I'm seeing so many people around me ending up at really cool places from where like I met them, and also reflecting that back to me and me realizing like, oh fuck, I'm in a really cool place too from where I started Merch Madness, but even from where I started my journey as an artist.
Yeah.
So I love that that's spilling over into like you said, you wanted to design merch for James, and you want to figuring out other ways to do this shit and kind of just falling into something else. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think I chose James because I truly believe in the messaging that he has created, and I really want to amplify that voice. And I know with his mantra in my mind, I know that we can really impact the world. You know, like we we create so well together, and we've worked and known each other for so long that I've always joked that my friends remind me of Captain Planet. Like we all like come together and we do these really dope things. And I also kind of feel in my Thanos era where I really want to just like destroy everything. I do, because so many things are holding people back that I just want to show people that you can do what you want to do in a healthy way, like not like who is doing some bullshit. Um, I really want to show people that I want to give them the inspiration to go be creative in whatever world it is that they're in. Like if you work in politics, I want to inspire you to go like really be your best in that space. If you're a musician, if you're a teacher, whatever it is that you are, I really want to inspire you to be the best in that space. Your best, like not the best of, it's that shit is lame. I remember when I was young, I used to want to like be the best, and now it's just like I want to be my best. Like I'm one of one.
Yeah. And I like encouraging people to be creative in multiple avenues because that's one thing that talking to different people, and especially like talking to students in the last year, I've been preaching, and also again a mirror to myself and reminding myself like the same creativity that we put into the things that we're so passionate about or feel like we're professionals at, you can apply that to everything. Like the same creativity I show up to every day to write a song, I can show up to plan my life. I can show up to figure out a different, like you said, if I'm in politics, like that's the creativity that I can tap into there. Like you can, that it's a power that can go everywhere. It's not just limited to when you're in the studio, when you're on the podcast, when you're at the canvas, when you're at the fucking whatever your medium is. You can use that creativity in every aspect. And I think that's again why Merch Madness has been a lot of fun for me, because it's always that reminder of like, oh, I do really like creating other, like I don't have to be fucking Calvin Klein tomorrow, but I made some shit that I really like and I still wear. You made some shit that I really like and I still wear. Like, that's fun to know that, like, on a given day, even if I don't write a song, I'm wearing a shirt that I made. That's art.
And I think something that's so dope is like when people of different mediums collaborate,
Mm-hmm.
kind of going back to what we were talking about politics. Like I look at somebody like Dr. David Johns coming on the Art of Letting Go, and I may not be, the biggest political person. I don't think at that time he didn't even have a podcast at that time, but for us to, you know, collaborate and him bring awareness to my podcast, with me also bring awareness to people of what he's doing. And like
Mm-hmm.
I see so many people that are in my network and people that support me now supporting him and supporting his missions. And it's like, that's really what it's about. Like, if you aren't an expert in the space, you don't have to be, because there are other experts that can take, whatever it is that you want to project into the world, into other worlds. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
I love that. No, I think that's super important, and like I said, I think that's at the foundation of everything we do, especially over this last year. And I think, again, this is why Merch Madness is fun for me, because it has become a reflection point every year. And coming into this year, I think it's really cool to look back over how I've evolved. Like, I remember even conceptualizing Creators Toolkit a year ago in Houston, and scrambling, like you said, we were kind of scrambling. We got really excited and kind of scrambled and got this really cool show off the ground, and got some really cool merch out. And even though we didn't make a lot of sales and stuff like that, I think what last year taught me was to the power of consistency. Because it's like, you know what, why not do it every year? Why not work that muscle every year? Something cool always comes out of it. I think last year I did make some really cool designs that I liked. I think this show felt really impactful. We got music out last year. It ended up being one of my only releases for a good chunk of the year. Like, This Shit Hard was just off by itself for me, which was the first time in a while where I had like a singular release, and just being able to see that song grow on Audio Mac. Like, we released a song to complement a podcast, and the song ended up doing really well. And it was like, oh, okay, like, we used all of our mediums and something still came of it, which is really cool. And I'm excited to drop the remix EP this year. That was, I think, the thing I've put the most conscious energy into coming to Merch Madness. Was I knew I really wanted to do a remix EP for This Shit Hard, because for whatever reason people are running up the acapella, and that felt like a sign. But also it just felt really good to be able to execute it and, like, literally be at a space as an artist where there were no roadblocks. Because I remember those times where I would have a vision of something, and this person wouldn't answer, and that person wouldn't answer, and this person wasn't interested. And I used to just stop in those spaces, like, well, fuck it, I can't get it done. And this time around, it was just like, I have so many resources. And I feel like I got it done within a week. Like, it felt really fast. Like, and that feels really good coming into the month having that. But I am of the same mind as you of, I don't really know what this month is going to look like as far as merch and additional things, but I am excited for it. I mean, I guess you guys, I don't know when we're going to put this out, but it's going to be a really fun month, and I'm sure that we'll both be documenting how we are building out the month and future projects through our socials. But I'm really excited to just come into this month knowing that I've worked this muscle 2 years in a row, and something cool is going to come out of it regardless. So that's fun.
Yeah, and I don't feel rushed this year. I think last year, I just honestly don't think I was in the headspace for any of it. Like, I understand how much, which, shout out to family. Like, I was staying with family and, had a place to stay, but having my own home base
Mm-hmm.
feels different than, staying at somebody else's space. So I just more so was in a space of like trying to get out, as opposed to like being settled and being stable and still. So I think that's why I feel so comfortable with it. And even, with releasing merch, I think the difference this year as opposed to the other 2 years is I don't feel like it has to be out in March. Like I said, I'm gonna do some pre-sales, and also, like, when I do this photo shoot, take some pictures in the merch, and
Mhm.
like really come up with a strategy to essentially sell a whole lot of it. So that's where my mind is like really being tapped into the strategy of it all, because I think over the last years it was just like, I'm gonna just post every day, which the consistency is great, but now understanding consistency works. Now what's the strategy that
Mhm.
goes along with the consistency?
Speaking of consistency, another aspect of Merch Madness was the posting every day. How do you feel about your social media approach for this Merch Madness, and like, what do you have planned?
Um, I think I'm working so many things right now that like I don't think I'll be posting every day just because I'm doing different things. Like, I'm doing the art of letting go again, but I'm also like, moving with the merch and then also doing the artist way. So it's like, I think the posting every day for me doesn't feel necessary, but like the consistency of like a 3 times a week, 4 times a week, that feels good. And I think more so just pushing the Mike Brown of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really like my focus is just pushing the Mike Brown of it all because like, once the merch is done, I still want to keep it going and kind of just like create almost like evergreen content so that like, my biggest things right now are getting myself booked in the things that I'm doing, and
Love
also
that.
growing my brand, growing my show, growing just everything I'm doing. So it's like everything that I'm doing is to intentionally grow. Um, I think in the past, like I was telling you before, like I've posted podcast clips that were just like, oh, I think this is dope, or this sounds cool, or I think I look cool doing this, but like to make decisions off of how are people going to interact with this? What's going to get the most engagement? What's going to draw people to go listen to the full show? What's going to draw people to go to the website? My approach with everything is different now.
I like that. I think I have enjoyed in the past the posting every day. I think the first year was the most fun, just because the way our lives were set up was a lot of fun. Last year was a little bit harder, but I think what I'm more intentional about this year, I definitely do want to post regularly, but I want to spread out my reach. Like I feel like if I'm gonna take a month to post every day everywhere, and everywhere being, I'll pick 4 or 5 apps that really feel like I want to pour my time into, and potentially tapping into new audiences or just finding a new space. Because I mean, these apps are a part of our output, and when they feel good to post on, you do it more. So I'm excited to post in more places and just try a month. Just take the month and maybe document. Maybe a lot of my content is just me trying out these other apps, but that's probably one of the higher things on my priority list, outside of just posting every day.
And something I would add to that, just being in a mindset of strategy is having measurement systems. So it's like, yeah, try all the social medias out, but if one of them is not doing anything, maybe it's not worth putting the energy. And if one of them is like really high, it's like maybe we should be taking whatever 2 hours that we put in here and putting it extra into the one that people are really focused and just the one that's drawing the most, whatever your measurement system is. Like, for me, a lot of times, especially like when I'm promoting like a course or something like that, it's always about the click through. Like how many people are going, like how many people are being drawn to the website from this? How many people are going to that website from which post is doing that? So if I'm posting 2 ads and one ad is drawing more than the other one, then I'm gonna focus on that ad and put some more into that ad, as opposed to like just keep putting up ads. Like it's a game. All this stuff is a game, and I think that's like the creativity that I'm really tapped into is like, how do I grow this business? Because I can make songs all day, I can make t-shirts all day, I can make podcasts all day, but how do I really turn 1,000 downloads into $1 million?
Period. Okay, so one more thing I want to touch on. I guess this is our episode 0, but I do want to. I like it because it's going to lead into our first guest, which is going to be Lottie Day, who I love. She's amazing. She's awesome. But one thing she does really effectively, and something that we've taken on in the last year, is newsletters. So really quick, I guess just tell people about your experience with newsletters and if it's worked, how it's worked. Just what has been your thoughts since you've taken on releasing a newsletter?
It's so funny. I feel like today I actually figured out the swing, because I was thinking about my newsletter and I was like, it should be simpler to just plug and play. I shouldn't be writing a new newsletter every fucking week, which is great. Like, it's definitely worked that muscle for me. But now in efficiency, I'm like, maybe I should be duplicating my newsletter, keeping the portions there that need to stay there, like my resources. If I'm just keeping the resources there, keep the resources. If it's Artist Way, update it with whatever needs to be updated. Art of Letting Go, update it with whatever needs to be updated. And then write out whatever the new shit is. But if there's like shit that just sits in the newsletter, I need to just let that shit just sit, as opposed to like writing up a new one every week.
Major key. Drop a bomb for yourself. That's a cheat code, because you're right, especially when you think about the type of, everybody's going to run their newsletters different, but you have been trying to be pretty consistent with a weekly, a bi-weekly? Weekly. So I think that is a great way to give yourself more freedom to kind of just, like you said, plug and play. And I think it's good for the reader. I think they know where to go.
For sure.
If they're coming, if they just follow you for like the Mike Brown of it all, they know third section, Mike Brown stuff, or whatever the fuck. Resources at the bottom. Quote, like, I remember I was subscribed to a newsletter from Mike Dooley called Notes from the Universe. And my favorite part of every newsletter was his signature thing, because he'd always put a little quote at the bottom that would just summarize it perfectly. Yeah. And that shit had me subscribed for 4 years.
Yeah, and so, I think in that space, consistency is super important. But trying to write a new one every week, it does take some energy out of you. And I think for me, like with every task that I'm doing, from whatever it is, even doing laundry, like I just want to streamline this shit to like just reclaim some of my time. I was telling it to my mom today. Like, I feel blessed to have opportunities to have clients, to work with people, but I want to learn how to trade less time for more money, because it's cool, but also I don't want to be tired after doing the work, and I don't have to be. And that's not me saying like, you know, I don't want a lot of work. I just want to be smarter about the way that I'm working.
Yeah. I like the idea of streamlining with the newsletter, because I think, and I thank you and I thank Lottie for definitely being my newsletter gurus. Just as far as being examples for me of how to run them, what I like from them, what I don't, what I want to give, what I want, you know, people to receive. But what they've helped me do for sure has been streamline my output, because I think we're in this culture where we're always trying to let people know what we're doing. And sometimes it's hard. Like, sometimes I don't want to post about like that one thing. It feels silly, or I want to, you know, wait till I got a couple cool things going on. But now working that muscle of having a newsletter every 2 weeks has made me more intentional about where I announce things that are happening, or just update people on what's going on. And truly, I feel like I'm experiencing better connections with supporters. Like, the responses that I get from people who have read my newsletter, and even and some of them, a few of them have been in person, which has been really dope for me, for people to just be sitting next to me and say, man, you said such and such in your newsletter. That has been so much more meaningful for me than trying to get a story up every day, trying to get a reel up every day. So I really appreciate the newsletter. And when you talked earlier about checkpoints, or rather systems of measurement, I know this is not, or maybe it will be, let me not dismiss it, but one for me is, do things make me feel good? And I know I was going to say you can't make money off of that, but yes, you fucking can. Like, if you follow things that make you feel good, it will lead you to great places. And for me, newsletter has made me feel good. It's been fun to do. And I want to pour into more of that, like more of these things that feel good. So it has been a blessing for me to take on the newsletter. It's been a lot of fun. And
I think at the core of anything you do, like, that's just like the baseline of, does it feel good? And I think once you establish that that's the ground level of feel good, I think you can start building on those other things. Like, for me, with my newsletter, I'm like, how many people are opening this? I get an average of 40 to 44% open rate. For me, that's great.
Hell yeah.
But I've been doing that for so long that it's like, I want to go higher.
Yeah.
So,
and that's when the creativity kicks in, because it's like the creative brain, the critical brain is like, how do I go higher? But that's when you let that marry with the creative brain and say, like, how do I make this fun and creative for myself? So that's huge. I love that. I love that. Love that. Love that. Yas.
That's all I got.
This shit hard. 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 This shit hard, oh my god. This shit harder than a diamond.